السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين، حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا، سيدنا ومولانا أبا القاسم محمد عليه وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، روح وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفدا، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين منذ آدم إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت، وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعلها الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال تعالى في محكم التنزيل بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا شياطين الإنس والجن يوحي بعضهم إلى بعض زخرف القول غرورا ولو شاء ربك ما فعلوه فذرهم وما يفترون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Holy Quran in Surah Al-An'am, Ayah 112, and thus did we make for every prophet an enemy, the shaitans from among them and jinn, some of them suggesting to others varnished falsehood to deceive them. And had your Lord pleased, they would not have done it. Therefore leave them and that which they forge. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. One cannot discuss the government of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam and the advent of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam without discussing the enemies of Imam Mahdi salamullahi alayhi. Last night we gave some of the descriptions of the Ansar, the supporters, the soldiers of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. And we did this so that we may work on ourselves and build these characteristics within ourselves so that we may be amongst the supporters of the Imam alayhi salam before his advent, so that when his advent or when the revolution of the Imam arrives, we are ready and we are prepared and we are welcomed into this government of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. On the other end is the enemies of the Imam salamullahi alayhi. As the verse we just mentioned states, that Allah Azza wa Jal has appointed for every prophet an enemy. An enemy from the shayateen of the jinn and man. In the early nights we said we give too much credit to Iblis. Yeah? We give too much credit to Iblis. Although Iblis is the ultimate enemy, the active enemies are the jinns from amongst man. There is a quote for one of the scholars that says, I do not fear the shayateen of the jinn as much as I fear the shayateen of man. And when his students asked him why, he said, because the shaitan of the jinn, if I recite to him Ayatul Kursi, he will flee. I recite Ayatul Kursi, and this shaitan of the jinn will flee from the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. However, the shayateen of man, the devils amongst men, if I were to recite Ayatul Kursi on him, he will take it and interpret it. He will take the verse and interpret it. And this is the dangers of the shayateen of man. One might say, but this verse is referring to the enemies of prophets. Every prophet, Imam al-Mahdi is not a prophet. We say, correct, Imam al-Mahdi is not a prophet. But because Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam is warithul anbiya, he is the inheritor of the prophets, therefore he inherits their enemies also. Because the government of Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, is the government of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, therefore the enemies of Rasulullah are the enemies of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. The enemies of a wasi, of a prophet, are the enemies of this prophet. Now the enemies of Imam al-Mahdi salamullahi alayhi, there are three categories of the enemies. And we'll be discussing one, inshallah. The first category are those amongst the disbelievers, such as the Dajjal and his soldiers, and certain forces from the Ahlul Kitab, and what the Ahadith refer to as the Romans. These are one category. So the disbelievers, those outside the fold of Islam. This is not our subject of discussion tonight. The second are those amongst the Muslims, such as As-Sufyani, such as the Nawasib, who are in fact not Muslim but claim Islam. But also these are not the subject of our discussion tonight. Because the Dajjal and his soldiers from the disbelievers, and As-Sufyani and the Nawasib, those who claim enmity towards Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, don't listen to when we talk. Don't listen to me when we talk. So there's no benefit, inshallah, in mentioning them. There will be nights, inshallah, maybe in the future, we'll discuss the Dajjal and we'll discuss the fitna of the Sufyani and the fitan towards the end of time, inshallah, at a future day. But because we only have tonight and tomorrow, I think, so let us benefit, inshallah, let us benefit as much as we can from these majalis. The third category is the most dangerous. The third category is the most dangerous to the plan and the mission of the Imam alayhi salam. And that is the enemy within. Those who claim tashayyu', those who claim the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, those who have claimed that they are awaiting Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, this enemy within, this is the most dangerous. In any war, brothers and sisters, any war, in order to actively and successfully fight the external enemy, one must identify and eradicate the enemy within. Because the external enemy is clear. The Zionist, the capitalist, etc., etc. This enemy is clear. We know him. We've identified him. We know how to fight him. However, the enemy within looks like you and I, talks like you and I, behaves like you and I, has the same belief system, walks the same, adheres to the same teachings, attends the same masajid, carries the same slogans. This enemy is harder to identify. But with the grace of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and the blessings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they have given us their names and their attributes. And inshallah tonight, in the limited time we have, we'll be discussing a few of these groups amongst the Shia who will declare enmity towards Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and who will sheathe their swords in the face of Imam al-Hujjah, and will be in fact enemies to the mission of Imam al-Hujjah. The first of these groups that we find in the ahadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. The first of these groups are those who are Shia however, carry deviant ideologies. المنحرفون فكريا. In a narration, Al-Fudayl narrates, he says, سمعت أبي عبد الله عليه السلام يقول. We mentioned briefly this narration a few nights ago, but tonight, pay close attention to it. إن قائمنا إذا قام استقبل من جهلة الناس أشد مما استقبله رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam, Fudayl says, I heard Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam say that at the rise of our Qa'im, at the rise of Imam Al-Mahdi alayhi salam, he will be faced with an ignorance or an ignorant people who are firmer in ignorance and who excel in ignorance and come with a type of ignorance that even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi faced against the kuffar of Jahiliyyah. Fudayl asks, وَكَيْفَ ذَلك? How is this so? The Imam alayhi salam, he says, إن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أتى الناس وهم يعبدون الحجارة والصخور والعيدان والخشب المنحوت وإن قائمنا إذا قام أتى الناس وكلهم يتأول عليه كتاب الله ويحتج عليه به. Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi came to a people that worship stones and boulders and wood and sticks and carved pieces of wood. These people are easy to debate. These people are easy to convince. He says, however, our Qa'im will come to a people who will come to him and argue with him with the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. They will use the Holy Quran to fight the Imam, salamullah. They will use the Holy Quran to question the Imam. They will use the Holy Quran to undermine the mission of the Imam alayhi salam. This go back to the example that we said one of our scholars gives when he says the jinn, the shayateen of the jinn, you recite the verses of the Quran and they run away. However, if I were to recite Ayatul Kursi on the shayateen of men, they will take this ayah and they will interpret it however way they want. And this is a group of the Shia that do this. However, the Imam alayhi salam says regarding these people, ثم قال أما والله يدخلنا عليهم عدلة جوف بيوتهم كما يدخل الحر والقر. He says, however, by Allah, the Imam alayhi salam will force justice into their homes, and justice will enter their homes the same way heat and cold enter their homes in the winter and in the summer. So this is the first group. This group have existed throughout the times from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi up until today. From the Shia and other than the Shia. However, our main concern are those amongst the Shia. This is our concern for tonight. This is our discussion for tonight. Those who take the book of Allah Azza wa Jal and those who take the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and due to their ignorance think that they are more worthy of its interpretation than Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You might say, but today there are no Shia who reject or prefer other than the interpretation of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Say, really, is this true? These people exist, whether it be the layman or unfortunately the scholar. And we'll get inshallah to the scholars. When the book of Allah Azza wa Jal says to me that this book And there are several evidences in the Holy Quran. This book is a book of guidance. In it there is clear verses, and in it there are ambiguous verses. Correct? The Quran says this, speaking about the mutashabihat. These ambiguous verses, not everyone and anyone can come and interpret them. Not everyone and anyone can claim scholarship. Our ulama say one of the wisdoms behind having ambiguous verses in the Quran was Allah Azza wa Jal not capable of making the entire Quran clear. He was capable of making it clear for anyone who picks it up and reads it to understand it, understand all of it. However, Allah Azza wa Jal in His wisdom has chosen to make parts of this Quran clear so that whoever reads it understands it. But He has deliberately in His wisdom chosen and has informed you that I have deliberately chosen to make some of these verses ambiguous. Our ulama say one of the wisdoms behind this is so that the people, the Muslims, understand the need for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And understand how ridiculous a slogan like Hasbuna Kitabullah, the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, is sufficient for us, as some in the past did. We said that Islam is like a bird with two wings, Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You can't claim to have just Quran. You can't. This is ridiculous. We have verses in the Quran that don't even make sense in Arabic. We have verses in the Quran that are simply letters. Kaf, ha, ya, ayn, sad. Tfaddal, come interpret this for me. Come interpret it, tell me. What does this mean? Noon, what does this mean? Alif, lam, mim, what does this mean? This is just a small example. You cannot come and claim that the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, and this is not downplaying the Holy Quran, no. This is downplaying our capabilities as sinful human beings in understanding the book of Allah Azza wa Jal and extracting the correct interpretation. However, today, we have in our world, in the Shia world, those who have studied and who have not studied. Hawzawi and non-Hawzawi. Scholar and non-scholar. The most disrespected profession and undermined profession in the world today is the profession of an Islamic scholar. Everyone's an Islamic scholar. Everybody. Everybody wants to interpret Quran. Everybody wants to interpret Hadith. Everybody wants to question the alim. Everybody wants to attack marja'iyya. Expert. You know, back in the days we used to say they wouldn't do this when it comes to their health. Unfortunately, today they are doing this now when it comes to their health. One of the biggest blows to intellect, to common sense, is when people refuse to refer to the people of expertise in a particular field. This is the most illogical thing a human being can do. I have a mechanical problem and I go ask every chef about the problem with my car. I have a health issue and I ask every plumber about this health issue and take their opinion. I have a plumbing issue, I go and I ask every doctor and I don't ask any plumber. This is illogical. And it is the same with our deen. It is the same with our religion. When I have a question regarding jurisprudence, for example, logic dictates that I ask the jurist or that I ask those who are in the field. Logic dictates this. And we hear a lot today these deviant groups emerging here and there. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Their numbers are not many. Alhamdulillah. But they exist. And they especially exist in the West. Because Marja'iyya is based in Najaf, Marja'iyya is based in Qom, Marja'iyya is based in Karbala and in Mashhad, Marja'iyya and our Hawzat are based around the Middle East, in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Syria, in Iran. These people, they come to Sydney, to London, to New York, far away, they think, from the eyes of Marja'iyya, وعلى راحتك, yeah? Because they're not supervised, they say and do whatever they want. Study 1-2 years. Put the amama on, come and interpret Quran and interpret Hadith and attack Marja'iyya and attack our ulama. These are the very same people that the Imam alayhi salam is speaking about in this narration. That they will come with the book of Allah Azza wa Jal and they will attack Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. And the dangers of this, every one of our Imams almost was fought in this method. We mentioned a few nights ago, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was murdered with an ayah from the Quran, using the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. When we read in the Maqatil, so many times we hear the army of Umar ibn Sa'd questioning the faith of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Questioning the faith of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. To the extent that when the Imam alayhi salam calls for prayers on the day of Ashura, there are some of them that say to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, don't pray, it is not accepted for you. If it is not accepted from al-Hussein alayhi salam, who is it accepted from? The Ummah reached this level of ignorance, this level of malice, where there were those in the camp of Umar ibn Sa'd who referred to Al-Hussein alayhi salam and the supporters of Al-Hussein alayhi salam as Khawarij, as Kuffar, A'da Allah. These are the terms they used. Al-Hussein alayhi salam is referred to as Adu Allah, the enemy of Allah Azza wa Jal. And by who? The Romans? The Jews? No. By Muslims. Amongst them there were companions of the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa. More, amongst them were companions of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. In their ranks were those who were injured with Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Shimr ibn al-Jawshan, Shimr la'anahullah, the one who slaughters al-Hussein alayhi salam, is a veteran of Siffin. He was injured in the battle of Siffin. He was in the army of Ali alayhi salam fighting Muawiyah. And he was injured. And he stands on the plains of Karbala and calls for the blood of Al-Hussein alayhi salam until Asr of the day of Karbala, where he sits on the chest of Al-Hussein alayhi salam and decapitates him. With conviction and religious justification. and claiming that he is the one who is on truth and Al-Hussein alayhi salam is on falsehood. This is the dangers of ignorance in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is the dangers of taking the book of Allah and interpreting it however you wish. Deviant interpretations of the book of Allah kill Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Kill Al-Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam. Kill Imam al-Hasan salamullah. Cause those to rise in the face of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. We need to be extremely careful where we take our religion from. We find a common trend amongst these deviants and we see them today, and watch out for them. Wherever there is an issue which is not firm, wherever there is an issue of discrepancy, wherever there is an issue of great argument, wherever there is an unpopular opinion, you will see them rushing towards it. Rushing towards it. Discussing it, talking about it. To show off their ilm. They talk about subject matters that should not be discussed. Yes, there are issues that should not be discussed in front of anyone and everyone. Absolutely. Say, oh, this is censorship. Yeah, this is censorship. This is censorship. This is how our Imams alayhum salam behave with their companions. This is wisdom. There are certain attributes our Imams alayhum salam would reveal to particular companions, certain miracles, certain secrets of the Imams alayhum salam they would mention and discuss in front of particular companions, but not in front of others. Why? Because the Imams alayhum salam, they know. They treat people ala qadri uqulihim, based on their intellect. The Imams treated each and every individual according to his intellect. If they knew this particular person is incapable of understanding or comprehending this particular truth, the Imam alayhi salam would abstain from talking about this thing in front of him. There are levels to faith, there are levels to knowledge, levels to ma'rifah. And wisdom is to know what topics to discuss in front of who and when. This is wisdom. Not to open up every topic anywhere in front of everybody just for the sake of speaking, for the sake of showing my knowledge. And picking the most mysterious and ambiguous of topics. There are things, unfortunately, some of the Shia choose to discuss openly and with everyone, not knowing, that whoever they are talking to does not have the tools to go and research or at least comprehend what is being said. Sensitive topics. There is no need to mention them. No need. I remember once listening to one mu'ammam here. And he got up on the minbar, and these people, we call them salawati, yeah? Because they get up on the minbar and they say anything just for salawat. So people, Allahumma salli. Gets up on the minbar and starts speaking about the fada'il of Ali ibn Abi Talib. The merits of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he's bringing merit after merit, and it's all good up until he gets to the end. And then he begins to mention merits which are extreme. And I remember there was some in the crowd look at me and said to me, is this not kufr what he's saying? Is it not kufr? It seems to the layman that what he is saying is that Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is God, the way he is talking. This is how they understood it. But this guy, this allama, this mullah, his only intention on that night is to show people that he knows things. I have reached the secrets of Ahlul Bayt, and I know interpretations you don't. And he just throws this information out there. No explanation, nothing. I guarantee you, people that night left and their belief was shaken a little bit. Maybe it's true what the enemies of our madhab say. Maybe we do exaggerate the status of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Do we secretly worship Ali? Is that what this guy is saying? This is the problems we face. This is the problems we face. One of my teachers gives me one day a very beautiful anecdote, a beautiful equation regarding these people. He says, you want to know a deviant? Look for these characteristics. Look for these characteristics. كثرة الرأي. He is continuously giving his opinion. In my opinion, in my opinion, in my opinion. This is not a scholar. Even our maraja. I was reading an istifta for Ayatollah al-Uzma, Sheikh Wahid al-Khurasani, hafidhahullah, a few days ago. Someone had asked him, what is your opinion on a particular matter? Ayatollah Khurasani, in his response, this is a alim, this is a faqih here. He responds with the beginning, La ra'i lana. We do not have an opinion. I do not have an opinion. The opinion is that of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam. I merely extract it. Allahu Akbar. And then you get here, in my opinion, and in my opinion, and in my opinion, and attacking, which is the second thing my teacher says to me, attacking the ulama, attacking the established grand ulama. Sheikh al-Ansari, Sheikh al-Akhund, Sayyid al-Khou'i, Imam al-Khumaini. You get this here. Someone 1-2 years and then kicked out of Hawza and then attacking the ulama and saying, yeah, they say this, but I say this. In my opinion, it's this. Wal-'iyadhu billah. He says, thirdly, attacking the establishment of the Hawza. Allahu Akbar. When you find these three things in an individual, know that this individual, there is something very, very not right at the very least about him or her or them. Which brings us to our second group. The second group amongst the Shia who will fight the Imam alayhi salam is a group called Al-Batriyya. And how dangerous is this group? Al-Batriyya are a group who were around at the times of the Imams alayhim salam. They've been around for over 1,000 years. This group, their characteristics is what? They have joined the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam with the love of the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Yani they claim to love Fatima alayha salam, but at the same time love the killer of Fatima alayha salam. They claim to love Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and love the enemy of Ali alayhi salam. This is Al-Batriyya. They have joined or mixed between truth and falsehood, clearly going against the philosophy of the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Quran states to us that what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not placed two hearts in one chest. There is no man with two hearts in one chest, meaning no man can love truth and falsehood at the same time. No man or woman can love Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad alayhum as-salatu was-salam, and at the same time love the enemies of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. This is contradictory and conflicts with the essence of our Tawheed, with the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal. I'll give you an example how this conflicts with our Tawheed. There are some, many actually, in the Muslim world today, when they read particular historical events in Islamic history, they'll read this and they'll say, for example, Ma'rakatul Jamal, the battle of the camel. They will read this and say, and you'll find this in their books and you'll hear this on the tongues of their scholars. إنه صراع بين حق وحق. It was a conflict between truth and truth. Both sides fil Jannah, both of them fil Jannah. Those who are with Ali alayhi salam, Jannah, and those against Ali alayhi salam, Jannah. Fulan radiyallahu an, qatala fulan radiyallahu an. Both of them radiyallahu anhuma. Okay? This is evident today. We hear this all the time. Both of them are on truth. Not understanding that when you make such a claim, you have actually attacked the justice of Allah Azza wa Jal. You have fractured the concept of Tawheed. You have fractured the concept of one God. If I am a believer in one God, one. We all agree as Muslims, one God, no multiple gods. One God means one truth. One God means one truth. Only one truth. And if there is only one truth, then there cannot be a conflict between truth and truth. Because it is one. We cannot say these people are on the right path and these people are on the right path, because that would mean our one God has created two conflicting truths. One truth which states the right is with Ali alayhi salam, and the other truth states right is with Fulana. This is what they are saying. That this is what Allah Azza wa Jal in His mercy and wisdom did. Created these two conflicting truths that the Muslims, tens of thousands of Muslims and companions of the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alih, veterans of Badr and Uhud and Khaybar and Hunayn, have now converged onto the battlefield and slaughtered each other in the name of these two conflicting truths. Is this Allah Azza wa Jal? Is this a just Allah? Is this a wise God? Is this one God? This is a sadistic God. This is a bloodthirsty God. This is a God who enjoys fooling His servants and is entertained when they kill each other because of two conflicting truths He created. Wal-'iyadhu billah. This is not the God of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa. The God of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ali is one. And because He is one, there is one truth. Therefore, truth and falsehood cannot mix. This group, the Batriyya, claimed tashayyu' and at the same time claimed love for the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Look at their role at the time of Imam Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. وقال الباقر عليه السلام في حديث طويل لأبي جارود. Imam al-Baqir عليه السلام, this is in a long narration, we've just taken this segment out. ويسير المهدي عليه السلام إلى الكوفة فيخرج منها 16,000 من البترية شاكين في السلاح قراء القرآن فقهاء في الدين قد قرحوا جباههم وسمروا ساماتهم. The Kufa is a Shi'i city. Anyone who has been to Iraq will know that the city of Kufa is a city which is predominantly Shia. So we understand that this group Al-Batriya, Imam Al-Baqir alayhi salam says, who come out of Al-Kufa, 16,000 of them emerged from Al-Kufa at the time of Imam Al-Mahdi alayhi salam with their swords unsheathed. They have raised or risen their swords in the face of the Imam alayhi salam. What's Imam al-Baqir say about them? He says, Qurra lil Quran. They are reciters of the Quran. Fuqaha fi din. They are jurists in religion. Their heads have been marked and scabbed and scarred from sujood. Scary people. وَعَمَّهُمُ النِّفَاقِ. And all of them are hypocrites, the Imam alayhi salam says. وَكُلُّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ. This is the scary part. يَا ابْنَ فَاطِمَةَ ارْجَعْ لَا حَاجَةَ لَنَا فِيكَ. O son of Fatima, return. We have no use for you. What does this mean? When they address Imam al-Hujjah as Yabna Fatima, means they acknowledge his imamah. They know him. They agree. They believe he is al-Mahdi. He is al-Imam al-Ma'soom. He is the son of Fatima. However, La hajata lana feek. Return. We have no use for you. This is the Batriya. The hadith goes on. فيضع السيف فيهم على ظهر النجف عشية الاثنين من العصر إلى العشاء. And the hadith gets graphic here, we won't mention it. The Imam alayhi salam puts the sword to them, and in one day, from Asr to Isha, inshallah, the Imam ends these people. To love awliyaullah, to love the friends of Allah and love the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal is nothing but hypocrisy, according to the Imam alayhi salam. This is hypocrisy. This is not from the religion. You cannot wear the amama of tashayyu' today and sit at the White House. You can't do this. This is nifaq. This is hypocrisy. You cannot wear the amama of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih and encourage for the invasion of Iraq. You can't do this. This is hypocrisy. You cannot wear the amama of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih and stand with tyranny and love the tyrant and love the oppressor and love the occupier. A Husayniyya, as one of our ulama says, a Husayniyya which does not encourage or educate or indoctrinate the youth on struggling against the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal and the enemies of humanity. Sayyid al-Musawi says, I will not be surprised if a shimmer comes and performs latam in this Husayniyya. Comes and cries for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam and performs latmiyat. Brothers, sisters, we said crying for Al-Husayn alayhi salam is not an immediate condition of Iman. It does not grant you entry into the kingdom of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. It does not automatically, even though it is grand, the tears shed for Al-Husayn alayhi salam are grand, but merely shedding the tears, merely shedding these tears, does not make you a lover of Al-Husayn alayhi salam. If it were, then Umar ibn Sa'd on the day of Ashura would have been considered a supporter and lover of Al-Hussein alayhi salam. Umar ibn Sa'd cried for Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam. Even though he led the army that killed him and then led the captives back to Kufa. Yet he cried for Al-Hussein alayhi salam. Tawalli and tabarri. Tabarri before tawalli are essential. Are essential in engraving this aqeedah and engraving this belief in our hearts. Essential. There is no two ways about it. It is required of me, even in my testimony of faith, to disassociate from falsehood before I associate with truth. I need to empty my cup before I come to Allah Azza wa Jal. This is why our testimony of faith starts with La ilaha. I empty my cup of every other God, every other affiliation, every other deity. Then I say Illallah. And it is required of me when it comes to Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad to disassociate from all other than Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad before I give bay'ah to Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad alayhim as-salatu was-salam. Otherwise this bay'ah is polluted. This bay'ah is the bay'ah of hypocrites, of munafiqeen. When I am an apologist for the enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, I am a munafiq. I am a hypocrite. I am amongst those that says to the Imam in his advent, Irja' ya ibn Fatima. Return, O son of Fatima. We have no use for you. Which brings us to our third group. With all of these groups, before I go into the third one, it's for this reason it is essential, brothers and sisters, during the time of ghaibah, to continuously pray that Allah Azza wa Jal establishes truth and the correct aqeedah in my hearts, in our hearts. We have several ad'iyah that are mustahab to be recited daily in the time of al-ghaibah. First one is what we call Dua al-Ghariq, the dua of the drowning man. If you can recite this in every salat, it is good. If not, at the very least, once a day. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Muqallib al-Qulub, Thabbit qalbi ala deenik. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal in this dua to make firm my heart on your religion, Ya Allah. So that my heart is not tested. My religion is not tested. I am not amongst the hypocrites. I am not amongst the batriya, Ya Allah. The second is dua zaman al-ghaibah, which should be recited every day. Because brothers and sisters, tawfiq is only from Allah Azza wa Jal. It is only Allah Azza wa Jal who can maintain our faith. And the same way we ask Allah Azza wa Jal for our health and wealth and protection of our family members and for prosperity in life, before all of this, we must ask Allah Azza wa Jal for protection and prosperity in our religion, in our deen. Because once we lose our deen, we lose everything. Dua zaman al-ghaibah, very short. Allahumma arifni nafsak. Oh Allah, make yourself known to me. فإن لم تعرفني نفسك لم أعرف رسولك. Or نبيك in another narration. For if you do not make yourself known to me, I will not know your prophet or your messenger. Allahumma arifni nabiyak. Oh Allah, make your prophet known to me. فإنك إن لم تعرفني نبيك لم أعرف حجتك. For if you do not make known your prophet to me, I will not know your hujjah. I will not know Imam al-Mahdi if I do not know Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. اللهم عرفني حجتك فإنك إن لم تعرفني حجتك ضللت عن ديني. Oh Allah, make known your hujjah for me. For if I do not know, or if you do not make known your hujjah to me, then I will divert from my religion. I will deviate off the path, Ya Allah. We know from both of these ahadith, we understand that the key in securing a position in the government of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, or at the very least, in making sure I am not amongst those who are in the camp of the enemy of the Imam alayhi salam, is ma'rifah. Knowledge. Knowing Allah Azza wa Jal. Knowing the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Knowing Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. These are essential to know today. When we get to the third group here, this group, the Imams alayhum salam refer to them, and they are probably the worst of the groups. Al-Musta'kalun. Those who love the Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, who know the position of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, who are religious, who are pious, but only so that they may benefit from this religion and this piety and this Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam for their dunya, not for their akhirah. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, افترق الناس فينا على ثلاث فرق. People are of three groups regarding us, regarding the Ahlul Bayt. فرقة أحبونا انتظار قائمنا ليصيبوا من ديننا. There is a group of them who await our qa'im, so that they may benefit only from our religion without really loving us. They just want to be safe with us. And these people, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, what's he say? He says, فَقَالُوا وَحَفَظُوا كَلَامَنَا وَقَصَّرُوا عَنْ فِعْلَنَا. They want to remain safe. They know our words, they have memorized them, but they do not behave in our actions. They don't behave like the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. This is the first group. فَسَيَحْشُرُهُمُ اللَّهُ إِلَى النَّارِ. Allah Azza wa Jal will send them to the hellfire. وَفِرْقَ أَحَبُّونَا وَسَمَعُوا كَلَامَنَا وَلَمْ يُقَصِّرُوا عَنْ فِعْلَنَا. This second group, they heard us, they memorized our sayings, and they performed our actions. لِيَسْتَأْكَلُوا النَّاسِ بِنَا فَيَمْلَأَ اللَّهُ بُطُونَهُمْ نَارًا وَيُصَلِّطْ عَلَيْهِمُ الْجُوعَ وَالْعَطَشِ. These people, they took all the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. They memorized them. They practiced them. They wore the clothes of taqwa, the clothes of iman. However, they only did this so that people may love them and so that they may benefit from the people. Meaning what? They used Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam to gain a particular position. Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, when he speaks about these people, what's he say? He says these people are too cowardly to perform outright sin. They have too much fear in their hearts, meaning they are too scared to become thieves or murderers or adulterers. They're not ambitious enough. They're cowards. Where did they find the easiest and safest place to gain their worldly desire? Through religion, through the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. They entered the hearts of people by presenting to them piety, by presenting to them religion so that they may gain a position in society, in the community, in the world. So that people may call him Sheikh or Allama or Sayyid or Khadim. So that people may trust him or her. So that they may become amongst those in communities and societies that the people go to and they love this stature and they love this position. This is the people that have eaten the rights of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. The name and the flag of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam was used over and over again in history by such people. Because they know that the masses of the Muslims have soft hearts when it comes to Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim. And that the slogan of Ali Muhammad will cause people to stand with them. And how many do we have of these today? You'll see some of them who work on the emotions of the believers. They will show you in their majalis and in their speeches and in their eulogies and in their maqtals how much they love Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam and hate the enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, to the point where they are outwardly on the minbar mentioning the names of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt and cursing them publicly. But in their hearts, these people do not have the interest of the Shia. They have their own interests. They want to appear that they are the most Shia. They are superior to everyone else in Tashayyu'. I'm so brave, I stand up and I curse Fulan on the minbar. Are you braver than Ja'far ibn Muhammad alayhi salam? Are you braver than Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam? Are you more Shia than Ja'far ibn Muhammad? Are you more Ja'fari than Ja'far alayhi salam? Using the emotions of the Shia to achieve their own worldly desires, whether it be money or position or fame or control or power or whatever. Those who love Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad adhere to the wisdom of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad alayhim salatu wassalam. Never did we see the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam stand up in the marketplace, in public, curse Fulan wa Fulan wa Fulan. Never. On the contrary. The Imams alayhum salam used to caution their companions, not about cursing the enemy. They used to caution their companions about exposing the merits of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in front of other people. This was the wisdom of our Imams alayhim salam. We have companions of the Imams, a companion of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, for example, one of the closest companions, viewed as one of the ambassadors of the Imam alayhi salam. But once this companion began to discuss and propagate the stature and the merits and the miracles of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, and things he has seen Imam al-Rida alayhi salam do and perform, and things he has heard Imam al-Rida alayhi salam say, the Imam alayhi salam disassociated himself from him. We have a narration that says, may Allah Azza wa Jal curse the one who exposes our secrets. This is the wisdom of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Otherwise we end up in this group who have claimed Tashayyu', and in any of these groups who have claimed Tashayyu', but then on the day of the advent of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, we find ourselves uncomfortable with Imam al-Mahdi. We find ourselves not wanting Imam al-Mahdi. We find ourselves in the opposite party. We find ourselves amongst those who were willing to simply give lip service, but when it came time for the government of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, we ran away. And this was the case Some of these people, most of these people, genuinely, maybe in their hearts, they love Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. But mere love means nothing. Many of the soldiers of Umar ibn Sa'd on the day of Ashura had love for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Many of them. And al-Hussein alayhi salam stood in front of them on the day of Ashura and said, Ya fulan wa fulan wa fulan, did you not write to me? Did you not write to me and tell me to come? They invited the Imam alayhi salam to the point that Imam salamullahi alayhi, what's he say to them on the plains of Karbala? He says to them, you have sheathed against me my own sword, sayfun lana. He's referring to the sword of the enemy. He says that this is the sword of Ahlul Bayt, meaning that this sword only a few days ago was pledged to us. You had pledged these swords to us. These are our swords. And today you drive them into our chests. As the poet describes to the Imam alayhi salam, قُلُوبُهُمْ مَعَكْ وَسُيُوفُهُمْ عَلَيْكَ. Their hearts are with you, but their swords are against you, Ya Hussein. Why? Because when it comes time to establish the government of Al-Hussein alayhi salam, when it is time to welcome Al-Hussein alayhi salam, they find that it is dangerous. Economically, it doesn't work. It's going to affect my business. It's going to affect my family ties. It's going to affect my social status. It's going to affect my health. I have to put my life on the line. So what happens with these people? They join the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. And we see many of them on a night like tonight, where the camp of Al-Hussein alayhi salam is left unattended and unguarded, where the heroes of Bani Hashim have been slaughtered and are lying on the plains of Karbala. And Zainab alayhi salam is left to defend the camp and defend Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam and protect the daughters of the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi. We see one man, he comes to one of the daughters of Al-Hussein alayhi salam and rips off her earrings while he is crying. And when asked, why are you crying? What's he say? He says, I am crying for Al-Hussein alayhi salam and for the daughters of Rasulullah. Then why are you ripping the earrings of the daughters of Rasulullah from their ears? He says, because if I do not do it, someone else will. This is not the tashayyu' that Imam Mahdi alayhi salam wants. He wants a tashayyu' of qawl and fa'al. Those who say and do. Those who have a firm belief system. Those who do not wait for the Imam to come and then when he comes, say to him, Irja' ya ibn Fatima. There were many in Kufa who said this to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and wished that al-Hussein alayhi salam never came after praying, Allahumma ajjal li waliyyika al-faraj. And then when the faraj came, when al-Hussein alayhi salam came, they joined the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to preserve us on this religion and keep our hearts firm on the path of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, so that we are never tested with the love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad and are never faced with the decision to join Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad and then we join the enemies of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن عدوهم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل يا رب على محمد وآله الطاهرين وعجل فرجهم ولعن عدوهم.